each one of you is going to take part in this debate. Introduce yourself as the Prime Minister or Leader of Opposition so that I can make a note of it.
I'm Prime Minister. I'm the Prime Minister or the leader of...
Name is Arya. Okay, so the Prime Minister is Arya. Okay. And who's the Leader of Opposition?
Yeah, that's me, Rohan. I'm the Leader of Opposition.
So that's Rohan. Okay. And who's the Member of Government?
Me, Pradyumna Arora.
Pradyumna. Okay. And who's the Member of Opposition? Do we have the Member of Opposition over here?
Kashyap, you there?
Hey, yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so you are Kashyap. All right. Okay, so from the proposition, we have Arya and Pradyumna, and from the opposition, we have Rohan and Kashyap. Is that right?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Prime Minister can start a speech. Please state the motion and you can go ahead with the speech. If you're ready, please state that you're ready so that we can start the timer regarding this.
So the proposition is ready to present their arguments.
Okay.
Good. So social media truly does herald a positive change. So the first way to understand this is to understand the impact that influencers and celebrities have on the minds of the people. So according to the research by PubMed and PsycInfo, celebrities distinguish endorsed items from competing items and catalyze herd behavior. Moreover, characteristics of the people we look up to are often transferred to the things that they promote and to the phenomena or to the ideas that they promote, something that has been highlighted by sociologists and psychologists alike. This is a tool that can be seriously used to mobilize change and lead to some positive results. For example, when actor-singer Kylie Minogue from Australia was diagnosed with breast cancer and she encouraged people to get mammographies done, the bookings for mammography increased by 50% in that very year in 5 of the Australian states. When we see our celebrities promoting a good cause and even taking some level of risk in doing that, our fears are alleviated. After Deepika Padukone attended the anti-NRC protests, the number of people attending these protests rose exponentially. The second way to understand this change is to realize the speed at which the things operate in today's world. Information can be spread throughout the world at the click of a button. So to make you guys familiar with this, let us look at it this way. During the French Revolution, the anti-monarchy sentiments were widespread, of course, and there was an autocracy and there was a lot of despotism. But even for a French Revolution to occur, the information was spread slowly by the word of mouth or by written communication or by secret groups that were operating. But today, that level of change can occur within a few hours by a simple message string. The change cannot be undermined. Rather, it should be underscored. The importance of it needs to be told to everyone. Now, let's look at something that's just happened recently. A single video of an old man selling food on the street became viral overnight, and that person who was not even getting one single customer in a shop got hundreds of customers the very next day. That is only on a myopic level. Imagine this is reciprocated on a much larger level, on a much larger scale by a lot more people. It can really lead to a large change. And the proposition truly believes, as a member of the government, will present more arguments in the favor that social media does herald a positive change.
Okay. The leader of proposition, you still have a minute left if you want to state anything, or.
So what we have anticipated is how the might talk about how this leads to negative change as well because of bullying and all. But what we need to understand is that earlier, if people were getting bullied by the people around them, then they had no one to go to, right? Now, if people are getting bullied by, suppose, their family members or by their friends, then they have an internet full of people who they can communicate with. Furthermore, information, not only information, but knowledge is easily accessible. If today I open YouTube, I can get information from on paleontology to even that of medical information, right? And that is the power of social media. That is the power of the internet. And we fail to realize that today.
Okay, you still have 10 seconds left, leader of a proposition. Do you like to state anything more, or would you like to end?
No, I would like to conclude.
Okay. Points have been noticed. Uh, uh, any points? Any points of order, information, or personal privilege from the opponent team? Okay, then. Nothing's been stated.
To clarify, points of information cannot be raised after the speech is completed. So only during the speech, before between the speech, like without excluding last minute and the first minute, you can ask a point. You can raise a point of information, but not after the speech. Just to clarify, yeah.
So that's fine. Judge calls. Okay. Anyways, let's have the leader of opposition start. If you're ready, we can get started.
Sure. Can I
Okay.
start?
Yeah, your time starts now.
Respected members of the House, my Prime Minister, and other members. We just heard the government or the proposition talk about how social media is supposed to herald change. And all I heard was that social media gives information to people. Social media is about influencers. Media is about celebrities coming and talking people to do stuff. But I would like to ask you something. Just as the Prime Minister mentioned, an Australian actress asked somebody to get mammographies, and the number of people taking mammographies rose 5 times. Does he know about what happened the next year or the year after that, or perhaps this current year? I would just like to ask, is that change if it happens just for a little while? Or let's just say he took up so many examples about how today's information spreads in today's age of social media. I'd like to ask him, is it only information that spreads, but not misinformation or disinformation? Misinformation, as he said that social media is an agent for positive change, can also cause negative change or destruction in society. So does the Prime Minister not understand that social media is not just an instrument for change, but also for destruction? Yes, I'd like to take your point.
Go ahead.
So can I, yeah. So for the question I need to ask you is, you're talking about the destructive change that you're talking about. Could you elaborate on what sort of a destructive change in terms of the positive change I mentioned? What, if you're saying the opposite, can you elaborate what could be the opposite of what I was saying?
Perfect. So as my Prime Minister has asked me a question, what is the negative change that has happened? I watched a very interesting documentary on Netflix just the other day. It was called The Social Dilemma, and also a documentary called The Great Hack. Now, not to bother you with the details, as some of you might not have seen it, but it is mentioned that scams like the Cambridge Analytica, companies like Cambridge Analytica took personal data from people, and using targeted ads were able to spread disinformation on social media to cause people towards a side which they were undecided to. Now, I'm not saying that people are stupid, but I'm just saying that, hey, some people claim that Brexit happened because of these undecided voters going towards one side. Some people say that Trump won the 2016 election because of this disinformation campaign which was put out. So all I'm saying is, as the Prime Minister asked me, disinformation and misinformation are realities we have to contend with. And yes, they are causing damage in our society, to the fabric of our society. My Prime Minister talked about how people are bullied and they find avenues out elsewhere. I'm asking you, does he not recognize that people itself are bullied via social media? Rape threats, threats for kidnapping, threats on religion, insults based on religion, insults based on gender. Are these not products of social media? Are you telling me this is the change you want to bring in? So while my Prime Minister wants to say that social media heralds change, I'm going to go one step forward and say that social media causes discussion. Social media brings issues to the limelight, but social media doesn't bring in change. And the member that will follow me will provide ample examples as to why social media is a tool which gives people a voice, yes, but for social change, there is something which is more underlying, something which needs to come from within the fabric of society, and social media is not the be all and end all. Thank you.
Okay. Leader of opposition, you still have 5 seconds left. Would you like to state something else?
Thank you.
Okay, fine. Uh,
Can I just get a second? I need to get a glass of water.
okay, sure.
Thank you.
Any points of order as of now? Okay, let's take this in.
Can I clarify one thing?
Yeah.
So
Sorry.
point of order was raised by the opposition, and I would like to highlight how after that every year there has been a growth in mammography rates, and the report can be shared. The source can be shared with the judge if that is required.
Judge's call.
So is that required?
Sorry, could you
Ashwin?
say that again? I didn't hear the last part.
Yeah. So the opposition stated how the change was temporary, but on the contrary, it has been a growth. Like there has been a growth ever since every year. So shall I share the report for that, or is it not?
Sure, yeah. You have the link or the screenshot, you can just put it up on the
Yeah,
chat.
I'll share it.
Okay. Is the participant back?
Yes.
Okay. So the member of government, is he present? Okay, perfect. We can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. Yeah, you can start now. The
Okay,
timer.
perfect.
For the first time in human history, has a single generation shared a similar interest worldwide. And that interest is the internet, or majorly social media as we know it. The internet is a tool of collaboration and communication across the world. By breaking down barriers and learning about the diversity of different cultures, we can sit at our homes and communicate and connect to anybody in the world. What we are trying to say is that social media is a place for positive change. It is a platform for voicing and expressing our thoughts and opinions across the world. Now, this platform did not exist earlier. And with today's generation, we are tech savvy and we can voice our opinions. We see there's so many pages, there's so many blogging sites, and there's so much information across the internet which we can access and learn from it. In fact, it has helped people to reach out to issues and actually help people. A very good example can be stated out. The major reason that how people reach the government nowadays is change.org, where majorly all the petitions are signed. And I'm sure that you're aware of that, how many of these petitions is the government considering, because they are in fact the people's voice. Another thing that social media has done is given a platform for businesses to grow. I'm sure you're aware of the Prime Minister's campaign to go vocal for local, and many celebrities and influencers across social media, in fact, endorsed it and helped local businesses grow, and their manufacturing and sellings have doubled since then. Now, internet is a place where like-minded folks can connect, they can find each other, and they can communicate. The internet and social media have created a huge community worldwide. Yes, the leader of opposition, I'm taking your point of information.
Just wanted to clarify how does social media help manufacturing grow double?
Okay. Okay. So first of all, as I'm sure you're aware, the manufacturing can only go double when the money invested in it is actually more. And because the influencers and celebrity actually endorse these brands, and the brands themselves found a platform on social media to grow, they advertised more on social media, and thus the sales grew, and thus the manufacturing also had an adverse effect on it. And also with that, similar brands can grow easily. We look for alternatives as a consumer, we look for alternatives, and more brands are coming into the competition and finding a place on social media and are creating all their sellings on social media. I'm sure you have heard of Masaba Gupta and her recent series, and she has herself claimed that she's the one fashion designer who carries out more than 60% of her sales online. It's a free market, and social media is the place where this free market is flourishing. Now, on social media, we also see the exchange of new ideas, and we also know that in many places, for example, South Sudan last year, there was a lot of problem, and there was a curtailing of information. but people found an alternative source of information and spreading it out, and that was social media. And that's how people knew that what was happening, and a movement was created out of it. We all know what happened with the blue DPs and the entire change. Now, you you talked about rape threats and bullying threats. So I'm sure you're aware, yesterday there was news that after the in the IPL match where MS Dhoni lost, there was a report that there were rape threats and bullying threats against her daughter, which is like, she's not even like that mature and all. She can't um, I was very horrifying. And if you saw that a whole community stood up for her and her father, saying that it is not anyone's fault, and then these people who are actually claiming these threats are actually a burden to the society. You need to look at the both sides of a story. If there's negativity, there's much more positivity than that. If there are 5 negative comments on a post, then there might be 50 positive comments supporting that creator, saying that she shouldn't listen to these negative, hateful comments, because they are people that do not deserve to be heard. And thank you.
Okay. There's just 10 seconds left. Would the
No, I would like to finish one thing.
Okay. Is there any points that is to be stated with the opportunity? Okay. Okay. Points are to be noted. Okay. Can we have the leader, member of opposition on screen?
Hi. Am I
Yeah.
visible and audible?
No. Can you be a bit more louder? If that's
Can you
okay.
hear me now?
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay.
Hold on. Let me move this mic. Okay. So
Yeah.
let me start with what the Prime Minister said. He started by telling us, correctly, I think, that social media can enable change within hours. But let me ask the Prime Minister, does he know what he's wishing? Prime Minister came to the scene of Mark Antony's speech. Mark Antony gave us. Am I audible? Is there a break in my audio? I'll continue then. Let me take him back to the scene of Mark Antony's speech. In hours, the Roman Republic fell. Let me bring him back to today. Has he seen what's Pizzagate? Has he seen what's Canon? Has he seen Boogaloo Boys? Mobs can gather online and can have real world consequences in the physical world. Let me point out to the Prime Minister the fundamental characteristic of a mob. A mob cannot think. Everyone in a mob is afraid and they have no time to think. Everyone rushes to act. It's not very different on social media. Everyone is in a rush to respond to a tweet or react, and everyone is in a rush to gather support, to support their own points of view, or to make sure that their voice is not drowned out. Because why? They are afraid. They are terrified. Social media has enabled this sort of engagement where there is no time for anyone to stop and think. And I want to point out that this is not the way forward for a liberal society. This is not an enabler of dialogue. A good enabler of dialogue, a platform that enables dialogue appropriately, is one that allows its members time to think before they speak. Social media is not that. Let me again go to another thing that the member of government spoke about, namely economic growth. Let me begin by asking again, is the gig economy all that it is made out to be? There have been job losses, and people are much less secure in their income thanks to the so-called gigization of the economy, which has of course been fueled by the social media revolution. Is that really better than a 9-to-5 job that people might have had before? True, more people might have been part of the mainstream than they were before, but are they really earning anything? Are the people who were earning more before earning more thanks to the social media? And what about a certain Twitter account that goes by @RealDonaldTrump? Has the member of the government seen these tweets on a daily basis, hourly basis, or maybe even a minute-by-minute basis? And does he think, is this a driver of good change, or is this a vehicle for someone high up in power to just drive their own ambition and just drive herds to keep them in power? I would just close by asking the government to think about the incredible negative consequences of the platform that they have so blithely endorsed. Thank you.
Okay. We have 30 seconds left. Member of the opposition, do you like to continue, or can we go on to the points?
I have nothing to add, but if there are questions, I'll take them.
Okay. Go ahead.
That's your question.
The member of parliament can go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I had a question. You talked about how mobs can be formed online and it can be a negative effect. So do you realize that there was a very recent case in our country which was very saddening to hear, which was the Hathras rape case? And I'm sorry, did he just?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just finishing. In the Hathras rape case, and then protests to show agitation against it and to show the government that it was not right and they had to take some action. Protests were organized and peaceful protests were organized essentially. So how can you say that that is not a positive change against such a big mishap that happened in a country?
Would the member of the opposition would like to comment on that?
Hi. I'm sorry. I got disconnected for a while because of bad connection. I didn't get that question.
Not an issue. Can the member of government please repeat?
Yeah. So basically, what my question was that recently in our country we witnessed a very sad case, which was the Hathras rape case. And in fact, it's on social media only. People organize peaceful protests against agitation and to show the government that there needs to be an action taken upon this. So how can you say that this was not a positive change of communication and coming together, but a violent act of force?
Thank you. I'd like to bring out an analogy that a great man once said. Even a clock that has stopped shows the correct time once in a day. This is what Einstein said, by the way. Just because something went correctly once in a while because of a system that is deeply flawed, it doesn't mean that it acquits the entire system of all its problems. As for the social media's advantages that no other platform has, I'm sorry, do you think social change has not happened before social media came to place? Do you think no one was protesting before that? That is just not true. The one of the biggest oppressive political systems in the world, the Soviet Union, fell thanks to protests on the street. It did not fall because of social media. So why does the leader of opposition, sorry, the member of the government, believe that the social media is indispensable? It is not. Just because it did something good in a while doesn't mean the entire system is good.
Okay, thank you. We'll end the first round at that. There'll be the round of rebuttal starting from, rebuttal starting from now. There won't be any point of information. There'll only be a point of order and point of personal privilege as of now. You guys will have 3 minutes for rebuttal, and the leader of the opposition can start the rebuttal if they are ready. Rebuttal? Yeah, are you ready? Hello, can the member of opposition, can the leader of opposition please state that they're ready for the rebuttal round?
Rohan, you're on mute. I think you're supposed to unmute and stuff.
The leader of opposition has to come. Oh,
Hello. Okay, you're still on mute, Rohan.
okay. So
Okay.
yeah, I can start now.
Yeah, you have 3 minutes. You can start.
Okay. So the government came forward and put forward many points about how influencers and celebrities bring forward social change via putting forward, voices and movements, and how people have been given voice by the internet. I would like to explain to them, to the government, that the internet and social media are not one and the same. And the internet being a large, what you call it, resource, social media is a part of it. I think that the opposition has very categorically stated that while there is the advantage of people having their voice heard and discussions had, there is also the negative points that it can cause hate speech, it can cause riots, it can cause conspiracy theories, as mentioned by my member of opposition, like the Pizza Gate, mobs gathering. And while I might add, many stories on to why the mobs were gathering, and more incidents like that, let me come to some of the points that the government made. The claim that social media causes economic growth and harmony. uh, I say that yes, that is cause, but is that change? Is that social change? Economic growth and harmony is a function of the internet. Is it only because of social media? Then, and my prime minister, he very conveniently wants to point out again, as he has, I'm sure, given our judge the link of the mammography. I would like to ask him, is the causation known that only because that influencer came on social media and said, hey, let's go take a mammogram for 5 years continuously, there was a change? Was there no other campaigns attributed to it? Was there no on ground support for it? Were doctors not advising more mammographies? Does my prime minister have that information? While he makes statements that just because a celebrity came online and said, hey, let's do something, I mean, a lot of celebrities come online and say, let's do a lot of stuff. If everybody were to do that, then social media would be herald stuff. I mean, herald a lot of things. Change might be one of them. Stupidity, the arson, rioting, and a lot of other things might also be the case. So our politicians have weaponized social media. They have caused riots, like the Delhi riots case. We have seen how people have come out onto the streets because of hate speech being used on social media. So while the members of the government keep emphasizing positive change, somebody said for 5 negative comments, there are 50 positive comments. I would like to ask them where they get their facts. Is it true? Have they opened Twitter recently? I would like to point them to a few Twitter accounts where there are thousands of rape tweets and there is no support, not from the institutions, not from the government, not from any members of society. So when they say social media is a good place, I do not know what they're talking about. So while I say social media is a place, yes, where people can come, discussions can be had. Does it herald change? Does it cause change? Is it only social media? I just leave you with that question. Thank you, members of the House.
Thank you. The Prime Minister can give the closing statements, or if there are any points to be stated.
So very conveniently, the opposition did what the media houses do: give one side.
I'm sorry.
give-
I'm sorry. Is this a point that you'd like to state, or
No, it's my turn to rebut, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Start now. Has the time started?
Yeah. We just started.
So very conveniently, the opposition did what the media houses do today: present one side of the story, and that is exactly what the social media eliminates. They provide all sides of the story, right? There is value judgment, but there is not one single value judgment in it. People can choose which side do they agree with more, right? You said how Donald Trump is going ahead with dogmatist moves and all. But at the same time, the youth has power on Twitter. Greta Thunberg is driving change. Many like Greta Thunberg. The youth is getting power that it earlier never had, right? And this is something that you are ignoring. You talked about mobs being created, groups being created, but do you know how many more groups are created? Recently, I was added to a cycling group because people were having accidents who were going for cycling. Now, more than 500 people within my locality are in that group, and people are cycling. Not just this, there are mothers groups, there are students groups, there are unions. People have a voice. They have someone to communicate with. The youth who were earlier helpless can now make a change. You talk about how economic growth is not a social change. Of course, it is the social change. Today, money is a really big factor. I don't know how the member of opposition got this idea that it has affected jobs. Do you realize that today maybe your parents have jobs even within a pandemic due to the availability of the social media of Zoom? Why we are conducting this debate? Where we're conducting this debate is a social media platform itself. We speak about how there is free market, but we fail to realize
Point of order.
social media. No, I want to continue. Without social media earlier, entry into this free market was not available to everyone. The member spoke about the Soviet Union, how there were protests and they did overcome. But what we fail to understand is that thousands of people lost their lives because of that. And today, because of the social media, it will be way easier to have that level of a change, that we could shift a paradigm without people having to sacrifice that much, to people having to give away their time, to give away their lives. We can continue living harmoniously and still make a change, right? That is exactly what the proposition is talking about. We talk about hate speech, but we don't realize now, earlier, even people who do not have access to go to who do not have access to go to therapists have now groups or pages that provide free medical help to people who are afraid to even tell their parents of their problems, right? This did not exist in a time where social media was not there. We talk about how there is misinformation, but you do not account for the misinterpretation, right? Information would have been available without social media, but now it is
Okay.
spread.
Yeah, Prime Minister, let's end this session like that. The time
I had a
is up.
point of order. Does that come in the normal course of the speech?
We can go ahead with that.
So the point of order was Zoom and other chat softwares are not exactly social media. I'd like to clarify that for the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Can I clarify this?
Go ahead.
It is a social media. If you go under the bracket of social media apps, this
Prime
does.
Minister, Prime Minister, you cannot clarify a point of order. So once a point of order is raised, it is up to the judge to say
Okay.
whether it is under consideration or if the point of order is in order, and the judge agrees with the point raised by the leader of opposition that this is a point of order because Zoom technically does not qualify as social media.
So I would still like to. Can I give my argument as to why it is?
No, I'm sorry, but
Sorry, final decision lies with the judge. I'm sorry.
okay.
Sorry.
Sir, but won't the burden of proof rely with the leader of proposition?
So where is of the social media? Like this is a question. This is a genuine question. Where is it defined what app qualifies as a social media or not?
May the judge would like to clarify that?
Maybe
See,
we would go back. There's a recording of the speech. Maybe we'll go back to the initial the definition which we had used to define social media, and we will take it into consideration. But at this point of time,
Participants just know that the
point of order is in order.
just know that the whole session is getting recorded, so the judges will still be reviewing the meeting once again to record all the facts in place, and we'll be marking points accordingly. But for now, we'll end the debate accordingly. Thank you so much for taking part in the debate. We hope you guys had a lot of experience and had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for taking part in the debate. Would the judge like to say some points, give us comments regarding the debate, and give us all his views regarding the debate?
So yeah, thank you for inviting me. I thought it was a good session. So the proposition team, I felt in their constructive speeches could have focused more on defining their arguments first before going on to the examples, because I felt it was largely outlining examples rather than the argument per se, which you would expect more as something which is buttressing the argument rather than the main argument itself. That is something which I did notice. And the leader of opposition as well did get carried away in terms of rebutting it rather than focusing on raising his respective team's argument. But I think, yes, from there on, both the teams did pick up, and I did like the rebuttal speeches as well. So yeah, I think overall it was good, and I hope you guys learned something from it as well.
Okay.
Small disclosure. Till the speech started, we thought we were the proposition. So yeah.
No, that's completely I understand.
Yeah, okay, we'll take note of that. I'm really sorry if the proposition and the opposition didn't seem very clear, but I think
it was a clerical error, but yeah, we prepared proposition. We came kind of like improvised on spot. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Thank you so much, participants. We'll keep you notified. You'll get to know about your results in the top 6 if you guys made it in the top 16 on Monday evening. And yeah, you can wait till then. and we'll notify you regarding the
Thank
same.
you. Thank you very much. It was
Thank
really
you.
Have a nice time.
all the best, everyone. Thank you.
Based on the climate change or the levels of emissions and all that. One thing that you have to take into account is the countries that join and their current environmental situation. For example, if a country which is on its way to reduce its emission levels is to join an international environmental agreement, that is automatically deemed as a success, not because the IEA had any part to play, but mainly because the country was already on its way to reduce its emissions. And well, that's not correct, isn't it? Not only that, all of these IEAs follow a very similar pattern. The plans are drawn, countries join, it becomes big news. For all of it just to be forgotten in a few years, lying on a desk with pieces of data on it. Even after a country joins an IEA, like they don't take it as it's no lie for me to say that a lot of countries don't take climate change as seriously as they should be. It's true, and even after they join an IEA, they don't care a lot about practical change or actually making the environment better. It's just more about numbers and empirical data, which is helpful, but only to an extent. And why would they care, right? When there are more important things to worry about. For example, there have been instances where when environmental plans are being discussed, at the same time negotiations are being made for trade and economic growth, which will actually come in the way of these environmental plans. For example, when the Rio Earth Summit was going on, when that was being signed, negotiations were going on, which resulted in the formation of the World Trade Organization, which in turn made environmental change in a lot of individual countries a lot more difficult. And even if these countries that join the IEAs do take it as seriously as they should be taking, where are the results? I mean, so many agreements and not enough results. Every year, almost every year, the record for the hottest year is being broken. It was broken in 2014, it was broken in 2016, and recently there was news that probably 2020 is also in the run for being the hottest year. Global carbon emissions have increased by almost half. Corals around the world are undergoing bleaching processes. There are species which are being extinct. Natural disasters related to climate change have increased by, not just increased, have tripled in number. I mean, of all this is, these are the results that we're seeing. These are not the results that we should be seeing. I mean, if these international environmental agreements actually gave us or actually brought about changes that they wanted to, then why are we seeing these negative effects? Why is this all everyone is talking about, right? To conclude, I mean, all I want to say is that it doesn't matter how many agreements are signed. Like so far, there have been so many. It doesn't matter how many are signed, how many countries joined, which countries take part in it, which countries were very serious about it, which countries' emissions went down. Because in the end, I mean, if you look at the graph, there is a trend. After every environmental agreement or after every summit, you see that the emissions or climate change, in fact, you see it reduces a little bit the emissions,
I'm sorry,
but
but Prime Minister, please stop. Your time is up.
okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. Uh, Points have been taken. Is there any points that you would like to raise?
Uh,
No.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you please repeat?
No. I've said that if there's any other points of info, I mean, order, points of would you like to raise? Okay. No. Fine.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
My voice is breaking.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just give me 1 second. Is it better now?
No, sir, it's still breaking.
Okay. Uh, yeah. Is it better now? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Now
Yes,
it's
sir.
fine.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. I just wanted to ask again if there are any point that which the opposition team would like to state. Points of order, points of personal privilege. No. Okay. Can we have the next speaker, who is the leader of the opposition?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, we can start the timer. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, according to me, the international agreements made by the countries have been successful to achieve their main objectives. As we can see, the UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It was created in 1992 and came effect into 2 years. It was then signed by 166 countries and now is being followed by 197 countries. And then next we can look Kyoto Protocol. That took place in Japan in 1997, and over there all the developed countries agreed to specific targets for cutting their emission of greenhouse gases, and in the end overall there was a reduction of 5.2% in the emission of the greenhouse gases. Next, we come to the Paris Agreement, which was held in 2015. And at COP21 in Paris on 12 December 2015, parties to the UNFCCC reached a landmark agreement to combat climate change and to accelerate and intensify the actions and investments needed for a sustainable low carbon future. Next, the most effective one is the COP25. COP25 was held in 2019 Chile. The COP25 conference was held in December.
Kanishta, I'm sorry. I think, yeah, your audio is not clear.
So,
Yeah, your audio is not clear, Kanishta. Yeah, you're again muted. Can you keep it next to your this thing? We can't hear you.
so now am I audible?
Yeah, now it's better. I would like to continue, but I'd like to continue the time. You still have 2 minutes left. Please be audible.
Okay, sir.
If it is okay, can Tanishta start over from again, because I don't want her flow to be affected, because she can start over again if that's okay.
That's perfect.
Time.
Yeah,
Yes, sir, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Kanishta, I'm starting the timer again. Please start your speech.
Okay, sir.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Well, according to me, all the countries have been successful in reaching their main objectives made in the international agreements in the meetings held by the UNFCCC, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. It was created in 1992 and came into effect in 2 years. It was then signed by 166 countries and now is being followed by 197 countries. After that, the Kyoto Protocol took place in Kyoto, Japan in 1997. And over there, all the developed countries agreed to specific targets for cutting their emission of greenhouse gases. And in the end, overall, there was a reduction of 5.2% in the emission of the gases. Then, next we come to the 2018 COP24 Katowice, which was held in Poland. Well, over the Polish government, as a part of the implementation of responsible development strategy, developed a series of regulations aiming popularizing low and zero emission vehicles. The package for clean transport includes such documents.
Would you like to take up a point, or would you like to continue?
So first, I would like to clear the question.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, you mentioned that the Kyoto Protocol actually saw a reduction in emissions. What about the fact that it didn't include greenhouse gases? While Australia did meet its target, it didn't consider greenhouse gases, which actually increased for, I think, around a 7 or 8% increase in emissions.
Yeah. You can continue.
Well, according to my research, Australia also took part, and there was a cut in emission of greenhouse gases only. A total reduction of 5.2 by the greenhouse gases only.
No, the greenhouse gases actually contributed to the increase in emissions to around 8%.
Okay. We'd like to take that point into consideration, and we'd like to for the opposition leader to continue, and you consider that. Okay, so
All right.
you can continue.
So should I continue?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So now we are at the COP24, which COP24 Katowice, which was held in Poland, over that the Polish government, as a part of the implementation of the Responsible Development Strategy, had developed a series of regulations aiming popularizing low and zero emission vehicles. The package for clean transport included such documents as a plan of the development of electric mobility in Poland, the National Framework for the Development Policy of the Alternative Fuels Infrastructure, and the Act of the Electromobility and Alternative Fuels. Due to a number of initiatives listed in the package, it was also decided to prepare a financial instrument that would support the implementation of the measures provided for the documents. It is the Low Carbon Transport Fund, which by 2027 will manage PLN 6.7 billion. On June 7, 2018, the Polish government launched Clean Air Program. The main goal of the program was to improve the energy efficiency of existing buildings to significantly reduce the emissions of atmospheric pollutants. The implementation will take 10 years and its total budget will be planned 103 billion. And the Polish government is also trying to create favorable conditions for the construction of a profitable, effective, and modern hard coal mining sector based on the cooperation, knowledge, and innovation. And last year in India also, our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, banned the use of plastic bags. And those who will keep plastic bags in the shops for the customers will have to pay a fine of 5,000. The forest coverage of Poland is also systematically increasing. From 1995 to 2014, the areas of forest increased by 5,400 hectares. This includes great merit of the state forest supervised by the Ministry of the Environment. Forests make up almost a third part of the territory of Poland, which actually proves that Poland is trying to reduce their effect on their country on climate change.
Okay. Would you like to stop there? You have 15 minutes to continue. Would you like to say something more? Can we end?
So how many minutes are left?
15 seconds are left.
So then I might like to. During COP24, Poland also wanted to present other countries the technique of absorbing CO2 by the soils and forests, forest coal farms project.
Okay.
Now I'd like to.
Yeah. Thank you. Fine. Is there any other points which the other team would like to raise regarding the same? Yeah.
Yeah, like in her speech, you mentioned about the Poland, how they try to reduce the carbon emission. But what about the other countries? Like if we see France, they instead after implementing carbon tax, they were not able to reduce the carbon emission. So what would you say? Like it is only about Poland. What about the other countries? Shouldn't they be also taken into consideration?
Uh, no, before you respond, moderator, has the time for the speaker elapsed?
Yeah.
In that case, if the speaker's speech is completed, then we cannot entertain a point of information. If you have a point of order or point of personal privilege, the opposite team can raise it. Otherwise, we can proceed to the next speech.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Would you like to state a point of order or a point of personal privilege?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and also please note, as stated in the rules, you can only raise a point of information during a speech, and not in the last minute or in the first minute or in the last 1 minute or after the speech is completed, right?
Yeah. So as stated, between the first minute and the third minute, between the two bell rings, please raise your hands regarding the point of order. I mean, point of information if you have any. But before that and after that, only the point of information. I mean, point of order and the point of personal privilege is alone applicable. So with that, we're sorry. We'll move on to the next thing. Can the leader of so can the member of parliament come on screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. If you're ready, we can get started on with the next round. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Your time starts now.
as we all know, that environment is a shared resource, and to save it of devastating shortcomings, which are the result of our selfish actions, should be our priority. UNFCCC is a primary international forum for climate negotiation. However, climate negotiations have been experiencing diminishing returns. The last few conferences have struggled to produce consensus, and the vast majority of parties have failed to produce the targets. Other institutions have emerged at multiple scales, like global, regional, national, as well as local. Linkages harm the environment in some way. This issue linkage creates a possibility of increased negotiation cost, which distract or dilute the performance of international cooperation towards the climate change goals. This organization work on issues like deforestation, technology transfer, etc. But the performance towards climate change is still unclear. Paris Agreement, which was launched which gave every country the ability to set their own goals and combat the climate crisis, but there were a lot of political interference. Like US, when Trump took the power, he was the only world leader who pulled off from the international agreement. His unilateral decision put one of the world's largest emitters of greenhouse gases outside the global commitment. Among the world's largest and the most advanced economies, not a single country achieved the mission of Paris Agreement to prevent of more than 1.5 degrees by warming by the end of the century. Technology and knowledge to make emission cut is available, but the strong policies to make it happen is still missing. Canada's PM, who is always outspoken in contest of climate crisis, he also argued on the agreements that they were not strict enough, and they more focused on economic growth. France has lost 2 environmental ministers, and rest resigned because of corruption scandal. The government was ignoring the environment. The country has implemented carbon tax also, but the carbon emission was still relatively high. The number of climate-related disasters has tripled over 30 years. Like we see cyclone recently, and the Australian fires. Even in California, there was a forest fire. The droughts. These are some disasters which has taken into place due to climate emergencies, and this clearly shows that environmental agreements have failed to meet their objective on international forum. Then there was a protocol, Kyoto Protocol, which was launched in order to mitigate the emission of greenhouse gas and this lower the global warming. But there were some failures, like the cost outweighed the benefits. They focused on one aspect, like reduction of carbon, but other gases were not taken into consideration. And there are some developed countries which set the upper limit, and for other small countries, for the developing countries or underdeveloped countries, it is not possible for them to meet so high objectives. So instead, a medium-term alternatives should be offered, so that wide-ranging and effective suggestion should be developed. Also, we all are focusing more on money and not on climate. We should see a bigger picture. We should start treating crisis as a crisis, because then only people would understand the urgency, to meet the climate change.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry, but your time is up, so we'll have to stop over there. Any points of order or personal privilege that the opposition would like to state? Okay, fine. Can we have the member of the opposition on screen?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Whenever you're ready, you can start the time. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Your time has started. You can start.
Good afternoon, all. I am Varnika, the member of opposition. I disagree with the statement that international environment agreements have failed to meet the objective. In order to make the climate change normal, which takes place as per the nature, Japan and Brazil, as co-chairs, have hosted the informal meeting on further actions against the climate change in Tokyo every year since 2002. Since then, all countries are trying their best to control pollution and other aspects. We need to understand it's not a piece of cake. I am sure countries took certain steps regarding this and they succeeded. Let me take an example of our own country. We took steps by not allowing crackers to be burst on Diwali. The previous year, it was unbelievable and very well controlled. We did a great job and it was a transformed Diwali. If the countries take steps hurriedly, then they will make a mistake. The countries need to think 100 times before setting a plan. It requires a lot of hard work. We cannot use the word fail. It will make everyone demotivated. We cannot even expect drastic change our mind. Since we have taken the initiative and started working towards it, we would soon win the battle. We all know Rome was not built in a day. Another example in the odd and the even concept in Delhi is I believe that the concept was a big hit and the members also reflected the same. All the citizens contributed in making it a success. We all are aware with the phrase slow and steady wins the race. Similarly, since we have started walking towards our goal, we will also soon achieve it.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Would the opposition like to state any point of, would like to state any point of information, order, or personal privilege, as in with the opponent team? Okay, let's take that as a no. We move on to the round of rebuttal. Both the teams have 3 minutes each. Please let me state that there should be you can't state new facts at all. You guys you have to reside inside the purview of this discussion that's been taking place as of now. And there won't be any point of information. There'll only be a point of order and point of personal privilege from now on. Okay. Let's start with the leader of the opposition party.
Well,
Are you ready?
yes, sir.
Okay. Your time starts now. I'm sorry, Tanishta, we can't hear you again. Take a minute, fix this up, and we can continue. No. Tanishta, I'm sorry, we can't still hear you. Can you try reconnecting again once? Don't worry. Just try reconnecting. We'll start from the beginning again.
So now am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
So
So,
I'm switching my video off because there are some network issues.
okay, that's fine, Tanishta. Your time is now. You can start when you're ready.
Well, what I conclude is that there is a 5.2, there's a 5.2 reduction of 5.2% in the emission of greenhouse gases. After that, about the Polish government had made. Last year, then we know that India also banned the use of plastic bags and firecrackers. Polish government have taken out many ways. Like one of them is that during COP24, Poland wanted to present other countries a technique of absorbing CO2 by soils and forests. It's known as the Forest to Farms project. In the COP24 Lima, many countries wanted to compensate for the global emissions they had made. The first so, so
Yeah, Tanishta, sorry.
we pressed the
Sorry?
so is the time up?
No, you still have 2 minutes left.
Yes. That buzzer was yes, buzzer sound was there, so I thought the time is up.
No, Tanishta, it's just a 1 minute mark. You have 2 more minutes left. Please be audible and you can continue if you have more to state. Tanishta, would you like to continue?
Yes, sir. So the final conclusions are that.
We can't hear you, Tanishta.
So now am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible now. Would you like to continue or would you like to stop there?
So I'd like to continue.
Okay, fine. You still have
Well,
one.
what? Okay, sir.
Go ahead.
So, sir, what I conclude is that in 1997, the Kyoto Protocol 5.2%, there was a reduction of 5.2% in the emission of greenhouse gases. In 2018 COP24 Katowice, the forest coverage of Poland systematically increased from 1995 to 2014. The area of forest was increased by 504,000 hectares. Last year, our country, India, also banned the use of plastic bags and the use of firecrackers and tried to adopt green crackers, a new way which will emit less greenhouse gases. The Polish government also tried to introduce ways for absorbing CO2, carbon dioxide by soils and forest coal farm projects. In the 2014 COP20 Lima, many countries wanted to compensate the what because of the emissions they had made. November agreement on emissions reduces by the US and China, world top emitter of greenhouse gases. Meanwhile, the European Union recently pledged to reduce its emissions 40% by 2030. So what I conclude is that the countries are successful in reaching their main objectives according to the international agreements.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll stop there. Would the opposition like to state any points of order or person privilege? Okay, fine. We'd like to move on to the last round, which is, I would like the Prime Minister to come on screen and take the time to present their set of rebuttal. Can we have the Prime Minister on?
Yeah, just a second. I'm so sorry for this. Yeah, hi.
Okay. So if you're ready, you have 3 minutes to present your final statements.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first, I'd like to start off by saying that a lot of these international environmental agreements, which were drawn up or which were supposed to be helping us reduce carbon emissions and help combat climate change, most of these were officially deemed as failures, the Kyoto Protocol included. Not just that, the Paris Agreement also didn't have satisfactory results. Like I spoke, the Montreal Protocol, while it did have certain results, it wasn't satisfactory. All of these agreements have not shown results which have helped us so far. Sure, there is a, like I said, there was a growing trend. Most of these countries have a reduction in their emissions, but they're back up within a few years. So while I feel that there hasn't been any significant reduction or at least any significant change when it comes to climate change, I will concede to the fact that we shouldn't stop trying. I will say that because in the end, there is no point of, nobody, you can't just throw up your hands and say like, all right, if it's not working, we're not going to do it. No. So I will concede to the fact that we should stop trying. But if something has been deemed a failure, if something is not working, or if there are satisfactory results, um, I don't think it's fair to say that, oh, it's okay, like, it worked, or we'll take what we can from this. No. So what I'd like to say right now, like I mentioned before, you have the results right now are carbon emissions are increasing. You have natural disasters. There have been so many, like were mentioned. You have bushfires, you have floods, you have cyclones. There are so many. Corals are bleaching again, like I mentioned. So we are seeing those effects today. We are seeing adverse effects, but we aren't seeing anything good. How can you say that these actually worked? If they worked, shouldn't there be something positive going around now? No, you have all negative effects. So I will say that according to me and according to the world, or the situation right now, I will say that they haven't achieved their goals. They failed to meet their objectives of preventing climate change.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still have 30 seconds left. Would you like to conclude or would you like to?
No, I'd like to conclude here.
Okay, thank you. Fine. We come to the end of the debate. Thank you so much, both the teams, for coming over, participating.
Thank you.
We'll let you know more about your scores if you're getting qualified in the round of 16 on Monday evening regarding the same. Thank you so much for participating until then. Ashwin, would you like to give your comments regarding the debate, and would you like to give your views regarding the same?
Yeah, the judge felt that both the teams were very rigorous in their defense of the stance. At times, it was difficult to follow the stance of some speakers because of patchy connection, and that's a limitation which is beyond any of us scope to mitigate. Stylistically, I felt that both the teams in a lot of instances maintained a casual tone, which could have been avoided. Content-wise, it felt like both the teams carried a good amount of research. And it felt, I maybe felt that the leader of opposition could have been more robust in rebutting the arguments of the proposition, which was not the case. Maybe you did, and we couldn't follow because of your connection. But again, as stated earlier, it is beyond our scope to mitigate that. Strategy-wise, I felt that both teams lacked a flow of argument in their presentation and got distracted in rebutting the arguments raised by the opposing team. And to get a real sense of the argument, I had to put together disparate pieces of information. And again, if you do make it to the next round, that's something which you should be conscious of and try to, develop a coherent strategy to put forth your arguments. Yeah, I think with that being said, thanks for participating. I will be intimating the results of this debate to you in due course of time through the organizers. And yeah, best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, participants. We'll keep you updated regarding the same. And yeah, thank you so much for taking part. We'll see you soon. You can leave the meeting now.
Thank you.
Well, have a nice day. Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Utkarsh. So, Prime Minister? Yeah. Okay. Can we have the member of the government, please, on screen?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay. Now, can we have the leader of the opposition party on screen?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And the member of opposition?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, guys. Welcome to the Compass Parliamentary Debate. It's so great to have you guys over, and I hope you guys have a great opportunity regarding the same. My name is Rishabh Amarnath, and I'm one of the co-founders of this company, and I'm also your moderator for today. I hope we have an eventful event, and I hope you guys enjoy the same. I would like to give some views regarding the instructions, give you an idea as to how it works again, in case you guys find anything confusing. You guys can clarify your doubts soon, and we can get started on with the actual debate. So to give you a perspective on things, the round happens like the first you start off the Prime Minister, then you move on to the leader of opposition, then the member of government, member of opposition. Each of these speeches will be given 4 minutes timers each. And after which you'll have 2 rounds of rebuttal, which will start across with the leader of the opposition and end with the Prime Minister, which will be 3 minutes each. Now, between these 4 minutes, on 3 minutes, there'll be a set of points which you guys have to state. There are 3 points: point of information, point of personal privilege, and point of order to say. Okay, starting with the point of personal privilege, in this says that whether if you have to go to the washroom, or if you have bad internet connection, or if you want to drink water, you can ask for the same, and we'll stop the timer right then, and you guys can go forward with the same. That's point of personal privilege. And in case someone's stating any fact in terms of personal, it's something that's private, you can also state that it's of personal privilege, and we'll take that into consideration. When it comes to point of order, in case that you have presented something and the opponent team is trying to restate the fact, but they're stating it wrong, you can call out for a point of order. Or they're stating any facts wrong, you can call out for a point of order to state the same. And finally, when it comes to a point of information, you can raise your hand for a point of information between the first minute and the third minute. So when you're reaching the 1 minute mark, when the presenter is reaching 1 minute mark, and when the presenter is reaching the 3 minute mark, this is the sound that you will hear. Just give me 1 second. So this is the bell sound which you will be hearing when the presenter is reaching the 1 minute mark and the 3 minute mark. So between the 1 minute mark and the 3 minute mark, the opponents can raise their hand on video to call for a point of information. And this is the sound which we will be putting across when the opponent is raising the hand. Okay. So this is to denote the presenter that the opposition has, or the opponent team has raised the point of information. And the presenter can take that liberty of saying yes if they would want to answer the question, or no, they don't want to answer the question. If it's no, then they get to answer the question in the end. If it's yes, they can take the time then and answer the question right there. Okay. After the 3 minute mark and before the 1 minute mark, point of information cannot be taken into consideration. And after the 4 minutes of speech, you'll be hearing this sound. Okay, note that your time is over. I'm sorry, even if you're making your concluding statement, or if you have one more line left, we'll still be telling you to cut and stop there. Okay, and yeah, if there are any other questions left, we can.
For points of information, will the timer be paused, or?
Yeah, it'll be paused. It'll be paused until you state the question, and if they would want to conclude for a different answer to say, we'll pause it for a time, and then we get to conclude it again. They can start continuing with it again. Don't worry about it. We'll give you enough time to answer the question and also continue with the same.
All right. And if I say I just take it at the end, we can just continue.
Yeah, you can just say no. You can continue at the 4 minute mark. You can also answer, but don't worry. Even if you're answering it, then we'll still give you an ample amount of time for you to answer that question and go ahead back to yours.
Fair enough.
Fine. So if you guys are ready, we'll get started on with the debate. Before that, I would like to introduce you all to your judge for today. We have Ashwin Sendil Kumar. He's a international debater. He's won a lot of awards when it comes to debating, when it comes to MUN. He's won an award from Narendra Modi himself when it comes to quizzing. He's gotten a lot of awards. He's a whiz kid when it comes to quizzing. And we're really lucky to have him. He's an absolutely great judge. And I'm pretty sure you guys will hear a lot of great feedback from him. Ashwin, are we ready? Can we get started on with the same?
Yeah, we can get started. Just before that, can each one of you introduce your role? So who's the Prime Minister, who's the Leader of Opposition? Just in case.
So my name is Utkarsh, and I'll be playing the role of the Prime Minister.
Okay.
My name is Raj, and I'll be the Member of Government.
My name is Varnika, and I'll be the Leader of Opposition.
Okay.
My name is Espriha Bailung and I'll be the member of the opposition.
Spray. Okay. Thank you guys. All the best.
So Rishabh, I just wanted to check. Am I clear or is it slightly faint? My voice is clear? Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So the Prime Minister, whenever you're ready, we'll start the timer for the same and you can get started. Are you ready?
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Perfect. Your time is starting now. Go ahead.
Very good morning to everyone present here. 3.5 billion. That's 44.8% of the world's population. And that is the number of people who are actively present on social media today. But you know what's even closer to 50%? 49%. Because 49% is the number of people who take action on the basis of what social media influencers say. Now, who are influencers? Influencers are those people who have a mass following on social media. And they gain this mass following either by saying something interesting, voicing their opinion, or displaying their talent. Now, these people have the power to convince 50% of their listeners, almost 50% of their listeners, to do what they think is right. And most of the influencers take that privilege and actually go ahead and voice their opinion. And people sign petitions and get things done on the basis of what these influencers say. Now, businesses boom on social media. Some of them don't even have tangible assets. They just use their money for social media promotions to sell concepts, to sell ideas, and to sell products. By doing this, their businesses spread like wildfires. And because of this, people don't just buy into the concept of the idea. Because something called evangelism marketing, which is so prevalent in social media, people go ahead and spread the idea saying, hey, I think this is a really good product. I think you should buy it. I think you should go for it. And so when businesses boom like this, the tax benefit that the government gets from it is great enough to actually instigate socio-economic infrastructural changes, thus helping change society. Apart from this, social media breaks barriers of communication. It eases the lines of difficulty that you face in day-to-day conversation. When you're talking to someone and you see their facial reactions not responding the way you want it to, it's disheartening. But on social media, you don't necessarily see it. You voice your opinion without a filter. And that is why when raw things are said, when raw things that are controversial and that are required to be said are said, change is brought about. And people come out of their shells, there is no cool or uncool. It's more about whose interests are pulled together. The algorithms of social media are built such that people of similar interests group together. But there are certain downsides to the change that social media can affect into society. Social media has a tendency to kill productivity. Some of us think we're heroes simply because we signed a petition and said, oh, we shared something on our story. But that's not the fact, right? We need to take action. So there are loopholes that are exploited by criminals. Now, loopholes being exploited are what constitute crimes. And with social media, the number of loopholes that have come into existence are so much that cybercrime rates have gone up. But there is a documentary created by streaming giant Netflix where people who are big shots in the industry of social media actually voice their opinion on how social media can be used for these crimes and what can be done about it. And as we speak, every day, action is being taken. Now, social media, there is a general conspiracy going on that media houses always show us what they want us to see. They don't show us what we need to know. Social media, on the other hand, shows us raw information. It doesn't matter whether this information is going to be glamorous. It just matters that it's true and that it's relevant to today. So with all of this being said, I believe that social media is essentially an instrument just waiting to be played to play the music of change. With that, I yield my time and I'm extremely proud to propose. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. You still have 20 more seconds to, talk. Prime Minister, would you like to continue or would you like
No,
to...
I yield the rest of my time.
Okay, thank you so much. Esprella, I'm really sorry, but after the 3-minute mark, like stated, points of information cannot be taken into consideration. We're really sorry about that. But if the opposition has any other point of order or point of personal privilege you'd like to claim, we'll take those into consideration. Okay. I'll just take into consideration that there are no other points. The points have been recorded by the judge. We'll move ahead to the leader of the opposition. If you're ready, we can start across your speech.
Yeah, we can start.
Okay. Your time starts now.
Let me define social media for you all first. Social media are interactive computer-mediated technologies that facilitate the creation of sharing of information, ideas, and career interests, and other forms of expression via virtual communities and networks. The words interactive and facilitate indicate the restrictive use of social media and tells us our daily actions need not be carried on any such platform. In the last decade, when we heard of social media, only Facebook popped up in our minds. But Facebook has also been criticized heavily for how it regulates or doesn't even regulate the content and origin of ads on its platform, especially when it came to thousands of Russian ads that were created to influence voters in the 2016 US presidential election. After some initial resistance, the company turned over thousands of Russian ads to Congress the next year autumn. The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that are created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, and mistruth. And it's not an American problem. This is not also about Russian ads. It's a global problem. We curate our lives around this perceived sense of perfection because we get rewarded in these short-term signals like hearts, likes, thumbs up, and we combine the whole value. And instead, the fake thing is not even brought up. That brittle popularity that's short term and leaves you even more vacant and empty before you used social media. Think about that, compounded by 7.8 billion people. Another problem. A low number of social shares can lead to negative social proof and destroy business credibility. Interestingly, also, although the use of social sharing has become the norm rather than exception in the business, some companies, after experiencing first-hand some negative effects of social media, have decided to go against the grain and remove the social sharing buttons from their websites. It doesn't happen that businesses boom, but due to these social media websites, businesses tend to fall back because of their PR, because the PR gets degraded. Next up is cyberbullying. Teenagers have a need to fit in and to be popular and to outdo others. This process was challenging long before the advent of social media. Michael Ham, a researcher from the University of Alberta, conducted a study that showed the effects of social media on bullying. 23% of teens being targeted and 15% said they'd bullied someone on social media. Teenagers can misuse social media platforms to spread rumors, share videos aimed at destroying reputations, and to blackmail others. Also, stalking, identity theft, personal attacks, and misuse of information are some of the threats faced by the users of social media. Most of the time, the users themselves are to blame as they end up sharing content that should not be in the public eye. This means that people are not even mature enough to know that if a content is private or should be public, because elements of an online platform always confuse a human brain. Unfortunately, by the time private content is deleted, it's usually too late, and that can cause problems in people's personal as well as professional life. Social media has done more harm than good, and instead of social media, many other instruments can be used, like other forms of advanced education, for example, STEM, to herald the required change in the society. Because social media used as a change purpose, it's not at all good because it's doing more harm. It is not only the solution, because the amount of misery it creates is unrepairable. Thank you so much.
Okay, you still have 10 seconds to conclude. Would you like to take the time or would you like to rest?
I would like to rest my case.
Okay, thank you. We had 2 points of information between the time. Yeah, Utkarsh, the Prime Minister, you can continue.
Right. So with regards to removing the like button, the statistics very fairly show that most of them didn't remove the the share button completely. It's just that they added it at the end of the sale. So once the sale is completed, the share button comes and they remove the number of shares being displayed or the number of likes being displayed. But they did not completely remove the button. Most of the companies kept the button for after the sale. Apart from that, you said that it causes more harm than good. The fact is that's simply wrong. Social media in itself has brought in so much revenue, and while it has had negative impact, that impact is so belittled in front of the positive changes that social media has brought about. you spoke about the entire the Russian thing, but I clearly mentioned in my speech that these are issues that are old. If you can't say that something a week old is not old anymore, because with the world moving so fast, everything is old. Yesterday is old, and they've already dealt with the situation. They've already come up with something new. So
Speaker, is this a point of order?
Yeah.
Okay. One, keep your points of order concise and crisp. And also, I've understood what you're trying to say, but this point of order will not be taken into consideration because this feels more like an opinion than a fact per se. So yeah, we can proceed to the next speech if there are no more points of order, points of privilege.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll move on to the member of the government, and they can continue the speech. Whenever they're ready, we can start.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Point of personal privilege.
Yeah.
So, Rishabh, I could not really hear the buzzer or something, any bell. So, did you really play that? Because
Yeah.
when the Prime Minister was speaking, I could not hear the bell. So, I was not able to put forth my point of information. So, I don't know, like, when did you actually put the buzzer?
Can you hear it out? Like I had asked if you guys can hear it. So just give me one.
I was able to hear in the starting, but not between the speeches.
Okay. No. Did the other teams were the other teams able to hear, or you guys also felt that you guys couldn't hear the buzzer or the timer?
No, we couldn't hear it either.
Okay. So just give me a minute. Let's see if we can hear it again. Are you guys able to hear?
Or Rishabh, I have a suggestion in case someone is speaking a bit loud and they could miss the buzzer. So maybe you can just like raise your hand or something, and then they will know that it is open because everybody's looking at the screen, right? So maybe
box,
heard a reaction. Yeah.
Okay, I'm definitely sorry about that. We were expecting that you'd be able to hear it. That's why we kept all these sounds into place. But what we can do is, if you have a point of information, we expect at least the opponent team to take that into consideration or just say yes or no. You guys can hear it. But if you guys can hear, were you guys able to hear the bell? At least the 1 minute bell and the 3 minute bell? Okay. Okay, even in this case, whenever I'm here, if you're not able to hear it, what I'll be showing is after the 1 minute bell is rung, I'll be showing my hand as 1, saying that it's 1 minute over, and then 3, saying 3 minutes is over. Okay, so if you guys can't hear the bell, you can hear my voice. And if you guys are raising the same, please, opponent, take a look at that. Or if you're still too busy in, going about with your speech, just the person who's raising the point of information or point of order, please speak out. It's completely fine. Until they give a yes or no to the answer, feel free to, just turn on your audio and ask them a question saying, just state that you have a point of information or a point of order. Okay, that will do. Fine. Thank you so much. We'll move on to the next round to say, can we have the member of the government ready?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm starting your time. You can start anytime.
Good afternoon to everyone present here. Speaking for the topic today, I would like to establish the fact that denying the effect or the impact of social media would be only through utter ignorance. So right now we are in quarantine, we're in lockdown, and I see so many lovely people enjoying the comfort of education from their home. How is this possible? Only through social media, through valid instruments like Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Teams. We have been able to transfuse education to people who couldn't achieve it before. Also platforms like Udemy, Coursera have been doing this forever. Also, during this lockdown, a lot of us were exhausted, a lot of us were bored. We didn't know what to do, but most of us, we found ourselves. We found what we are capable of, and we could showcase this talent of ours only through social media. And many people have formed their lifestyles based on this. Also, noticing the platforms like LinkedIn, which are professional platforms, most of the managers hire applicants through platforms like LinkedIn. Almost 19% of hiring managers make decisions based on the information available on social media. So I have mentioned a few positives about the impact of social media. It'll be unfair from my side to not mention a few minor drawbacks. It is true that many of us have gotten disconnected from our real life. We are and we have gone away
I
from
have a
the
question.
Yeah, would the member of government would like to take up the question now or at the end of the...
Yeah, I'll take it up now.
Okay, I have a question. What do you have to say about the use of social media by the terrorist groups for recruitment?
Okay, so firstly, our whole speech and our agenda for today is about impact of social media. It's not about positive impact or negative impact. So your question seems invalid at this point.
Yeah.
No, but okay, fine.
Yeah. You can continue. Member of
Okay, so continuing my speech, I was talking about these minor drawbacks of social media. So as I said, we get disconnected from our real life. Also, sometimes people get over enthusiastic and post information that they shouldn't. And social media in general has an impenetrating characteristic. Hence, there are chances where we lose our privacy. Also, there's this new term which has become the fad of today's time, which is called slacktivism. So some people who are just lazy and I'd say lazy use this type of activism on social media, which is just sharing or liking pics of great noble causes instead of actually working for them. So this is I personally feel that slacktivism has its own advantages, like sharing of such causes, but at the same time we have to check if it actually brings impact or not. So talking about slacktivism, obviously I'll have to talk about politics. The impact of social media and politics is it's intense. It's all I can say. The people of age group from 18 to 35, almost 67% of people use social media to have discussions about politics. It has been said that information is power, and without the means of distributing information, people cannot harness this power. And social media is the medium. So research conducted by Parsley said that information posted on the web lasts for around 2.6 days, whereas information posted on social media has 3.2 days. So there's a difference of 23%, which is a lot, and it's significant when we compare to the billions of people who use social media. While the world would be, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. She had a question which she raised up.
Right.
You can take the opportunity to answer the question now or later.
Yeah, I'll answer it now.
Okay, thank you.
Like you talked about 67% of the people using social media and talking about politics, right? But recently, when Mahendra Singh Dhoni, our cricketer, did not perform well, people were posing rape threats to her daughter on social media, and this had a traumatizing effect to everyone. What do you have to say? That is it a change that we are seeing in social media, or what kind of use of social media is this?
As my teammate and I have already spoken, we have never denied the fact that there have been negative impacts of social media, but we have told the positive impacts have surpassed it. Also, same Mahendra Singh Dhoni, he's so popular right now. He has 52.8 million tweets per year, and basically most of his popularity is based on the same social media which you guys are talking about. So your fact of again, as I've stated, we are not talking about negative and positive impact. We are talking about impact of social media as a whole. Does that answer your question?
Okay, you can continue with your speech.
How much time do I have left?
You have 40 seconds left.
All right. Okay. So while the world would be a much slower pace without social media, it has caused harm and as well as good. However, the positive impact of social media is astronomical and surpasses the ills associated with it. In all fairness, this debate is happening because of social media. Requirements of this debate, according to me and my teammate, were to express potential change of social media, to provide a neutral aspect of impacts of social media, and to ultimately prove that social media has positive impact over negative impact in society. And me and my teammate feel wholeheartedly that we have fulfilled this requirements. And with that being said, I'm extremely proud to propose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would the opposition like to state a point of order or a personal privilege? Okay, with that, we'd like to state that the points have been taken. We'll move on to the member of the opposition party. And whenever you're ready, we can start the time.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
A very good afternoon, respected judge and members of the House. As a responsible citizen and member of the opposition, I would like to point out certain things that I feel are very, very important. One of the major problems with social media is that anybody can share anything, including material that may not be accurate. In some cases, real harm is done when people spread inflammatory, unverified, or outright false information. This can harm the privacy of individuals. It can also have a harmful impact on society as a whole. A great deal of content is also spread through images and memes, which may or may not be based on valid information. Of course, most fake news stories don't tell you that they are fake, right? There are now several categories of what might be called fake news sites. There are satirical sites that publish parodies of news stories. The best known of these is The Onion. However, in the last few years, many other sites have appeared. Many don't make it clear that they are satire sites, leading to confusion on the part of readers. As more and more satirical news sites crop up, it can be hard to tell whether a story is real or fake. Social media stories, whether true or not, often go viral. The more outrageous and newsworthy something is, the more likely that many people will share it. Now let's talk about elections. I think something that everybody might be interested in. People are motivated to share anything that supports their candidate or more likely attacks the opposing candidate. This can result in false stories widely circulating. Even if false stories are discredited and recanted, the damage is already done by the time a retraction is published. I like to take it later. Millions of people may have already seen the story. It's even possible that the outcome of the election was swayed by fake news stories. Now, moving on towards the youth who will be leading nations. How does social media affect them? Learning process of a student is jeopardized by the overuse of social media. Health issues, specifically mental health related ones, severe addiction leading to isolation from real friends, loss of productive time, identity crisis, and negative academic performances are the major pitfalls of social media overuse. Getting hooked onto social media for the reason of killing time or needing an emotional lift is surely the worst idea. In conclusion, I would just like to say that social media is like an iceberg in the ocean. You can see the positive, of course, floating above the water, but the negative impact, which is below the water, is very, very destructive. Thank you.
Okay. A member of opposition, you still have 1.5 minutes left. Would you like to continue or would you like to end your rest of this?
I like to wind it up. I like to take questions.
Okay, fine. We
Point
had
of order raised.
We had a point of order raised. Would you like
Yeah,
to?
yeah. Okay, so the speaker said that when social media is used in politics, both the sides, I mean, whichever party sides people they support, they try to share immense amount of information, and it leads in major impact. Isn't this in contradictory to the agenda and what they're supposed to be supporting? Because the speaker, in fact, told that it's having major, that social media is having immense impact.
Social media is having immense negative impact, and that is why it shouldn't be used to change the society. That is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So when a point of order is raised, you don't have to clarify it. In case point of order is accepted by me, I will say it is well taken. And in case it is not, I will say it is well not taken. And in case I have to verify it myself, I will say it is under consideration. And in this case, again, I feel like the point of order is not taken into consideration for the simple fact that this feels more like an opinion rather than a fact per se, which can be verified. So
okay,
yeah,
I really apologize. I didn't know it had to go through.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
But yeah. If there's any other points of order or points of personal privilege, they can be raised now.
Yeah. Okay. With that, we'll end the first round. We'll move on to the rebuttal. You guys have 3 minutes each for rebuttal. The 1 minute bell will ring, and I will still raise my hand to denote that I have 1 minute. And when the 3 minute mark is coming, the second bell, the continuous bell will be rung. And with the 3 minute mark, you're supposed to stop. Just a notification that the point of information will no longer can be used. Only the point of order and point of personal privilege can be stated as of now. No new facts can be brought to light. All the existing facts is the ones that need to be taken into consideration in the rounds of rebuttal. With that, if the leader of the opposition would like to start, we can move ahead with the rebuttal rounds. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, we can go ahead.
As you all said, that influencers play a very important role in influencing the social media, and it brings a positive change. And your whole proponent is that the social media has done more good than harm. But when it comes to a negative impact, people see all the negative things rather than the good things. We have seen cyberbullying, we have seen cyber threats in this COVID era, which has been really rising because of many disadvantages, because of the lack of security. I was trying to say that teenagers or even the adults don't know what to share, when to share, because they don't have their senses stop working when the social media comes, because they feel so casual in social media that they can post anything, and they don't know the difference between what's private and what's public. Few years back, when when people started when robberies were happening due to location being shared, that meant that social media is not at all a good platform to share your location where you're traveling. And social media has not done any good, because the amount of when we talk about businesses, as you all already stated, that the that share button is down, the it has been shifted down, but please see that if the share button has been shifted down, then it has had a negative impact. The PR is affected severely. And when it comes to suicides, when it comes to terrorist attacks, all of it happens due to social media. No other media is more convincing or more faster. And recently there was also many drives on social media which had a negative impact, and all of the violence that we are seeing these days, it's happening because of social media. And of course it has done communication, it has influencers have played a very important role. But when it comes to the mindset, when it comes to how it affects the mindsets of the people, it has done a very not a great job, because people don't know how to react to any comments, because people don't know what to share, when to share. So I would like to rest my case by saying that social media is not a good instrument, because when it comes to change, we always connotate it with positivity. Change is always meant to happen in a positive manner and not in a backward sense. But social media has taken us way back in terms of moral values, in terms of information, because social media is also responsible for communicating to us very wrong information, which is absolutely not supportive. So social, like I just as I said, that education.
I'm sorry, Rekha, you have to stop. It's past the 3-minute point. Your points have been noted. Thank you. Is there any other points of order or personal privilege which the opponent team would like to state out?
Point of order. Okay, logical fallacy. So as the speaker said, that share button was moved down and PR was affected adversely, and only for some companies. So she's missing out on the logical part that many other companies have used the same share button to improve their businesses, and it's a company's personal view to move their share button wherever they want and however they want to take over their PR. That doesn't point out any ill effects of social media.
Okay.
The point of order is under consideration, and we'll let you know with due course of time.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. With that, we move on to the final round, which is if the Prime Minister can come, make the ending speech. Go ahead. Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon. So the leader of the opposition stated lots of points. Now, whilst defining social media, the leader of the opposition interpreted that the definition itself stated that social media was restrictive. Social media is probably one of the most freeing tools that we have received as a gift as human beings. It frees, it breaks down barriers of communication. And when saying that all terrorism and all violence is because of social media is simply a false fact. I cannot overstate how false it is. Yes, you can say that social media does in some way contribute to the spreading of terrorism ideologies, but to really think that terrorist groups are formed and created and executed via social media, that is simply wrong. With regards to fake news, the media houses, the television media houses, we all have this conspiracy going on that television media houses show us what we want to see so that we don't see the truth. So now with the freedom given on social media, yes, there is fake news. But the proportion of that fake news to the proportion of real news, put in consideration with the kind of news being spread on the television and the time at which that news is delivered to us, social media trumps it. With regards to the learning process, I'm saying that an emotional lift is bad. I fail to understand how someone can say that wanting an emotional lift is bad. We are social animals. Emotion is part of us. Why is requiring an emotional lift something bad? And with regards to not knowing what to share and when to share, that's a fair argument. And it is for that reason that there are terms and conditions wherein social media explains to the individuals who sign up to it what must be done. It educates the individuals who sign up to social media. That does not stop social media from being a potential effective tool to herald change in society. Lastly, with regards to social media not doing any good. Now, with regards to terrorism attacks and violence, there are personal stories that you will see of someone who puts up a story saying, I have a family member who requires O positive blood for their COVID treatment, and that person's story will take it down within the next hour or the next 2 hours, simply because it is through social media they received access to the treatment they required. Healthcare uses social media for promotion because they have easier ways to reach out to customers. Instead of having to come out to the hospital and tell what your problem is, if your problem can be treated from long distance, hospitals are more than happy to do it. All this being said, I believe that I have answered any form of questionability with regards to social media having an impact on society, and that I'm proud to propose. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. The opponent team had a point to raise. You can take that up.
Yeah, he mentioned that how can I say that wanting an emotional lift is negative or say it in a negative manner? I mentioned that wanting to have an emotional lift with the help of social media is something that is not good. You can have emotional lift by different means as well.
Okay.
Are there any other points of order, points of personal privilege?
I don't think so. We're just waiting for your verdict on that point of order.
Okay. I mean, personally, I don't exactly remember the words which were used. Maybe a point of personal privilege could have been raised to clarify that. But nonetheless, again, we have taken consideration, have a look at the recording again before we can take a call at it, because we can't remember every single word which is being said. But yeah, this point is taken into consideration. On the previous point of order, which was raised by the member of the opposition, that point will not be taken into consideration because the judge does not feel there was a logical fallacy there. And yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, participants. Thank you so much, Judge. Regarding this point of order, we have the recording for the same video for the whole debate. We'll be making the judge go through the whole video again for such type of point of orders and point of informations and for scoring better. And we'll let you know regarding the same, regarding your results on getting into top of best of 16 on Monday morning or Monday evening to say. By Monday evening, you will get to know the results if you're in the next round. But apart from that, thank you so much for taking part in the event. We hope you had an amazing time, amazing experience, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you so much for taking part. But apart from that,
thank you so much. Okay.
The judge, Ashwin, would you like to give your comments regarding the event and the debate and how it went regarding the same?
Yeah, I think, in the case of this debate, if we have to summarize it, probably you can say what has the power to create also has the power to destroy in the context of social media. I felt that both the teams articulated their arguments well and buttressed their stances with good examples. Both the opening speakers clearly defined social media before proceeding to the rest of the arguments, which was good to see. A few speakers were a bit too fast. Perhaps it was an attempt to fit in a lot of information within the constraints of the time limit. But at large, stylistically, I don't have much to complain. Content-wise, I thought both teams researched their stances well. and the opposition team in particular made good use of rhetoric to put forth their arguments. But in the case of rebuttals, it felt like both the speakers were trying to reiterate their constructive arguments again, rather than tackling the opposing argument, which is particularly the case with the leader of the opposition. In case you do proceed to the next round, there is something which you have to take note of. Some good POIs were raised by the opposition team, and I would like to see more points of information raised from the proposition team as well. Strategy-wise, I thought there was a good transition between speakers of the same team. The opposition team in particular, I felt had well apportioned their constructive arguments between each other, giving their case a good flow. Overall, I thought it was a very good debate with little to separate between both the teams. Yeah, I think with that being said, all the best for the future rounds, and thanks for participating.
Okay. Thank you so much, participants. That'll be all. Yeah.
And I'll be seconding. I'm the member of opposition.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. With this, we'll get started with the event. Ashwin, can we get started with the same?
Sure. All the best, guys.
Thank you. First, if the Prime Minister is ready, we'll get started with the Prime Minister. Please just state whenever you're ready and we'll start the timer. Okay. I'm starting the timer now. You can, start presenting. Go ahead.
The House believes that social media is a valid instrument to herald changes in society. The world is getting smaller day by day, and the ultimate power in this shoulder-distance world is social media. If you want people in all parts of the world to know what is happening in the world, you need social media. The best way to confirm some product's credibility is by comparing it with the situation when it was not present. In earlier times, when people didn't have social media, they didn't get to know what was happening in other parts of the world. They didn't even get to know what was happening in their neighboring towns. With social media, this has been changed. If they had it at that time, they might have known what could have been happening with their family members who were taken from here to the colonies. With just one simple share like we do in WhatsApp or Twitter, a lot of primitive societies in today's arena are lagging. And this is not because they wanted to cut themselves off from the society. It is because they were kept that way. From now onwards, if we have social media to bring out changes, we can have a positive impact on these people. What is another most important factor of seconding this motion is that a large population of our country forms the youth. 50% of our population is below 25 years and 35% and 65% is below 35 years. Now, this generation doesn't really believe in newspapers and news channels. They don't even see other channels in news and television. So what is their way of getting information today? It's social media. A lot of our peers get to know about things that are happening in today's world because they see it in some of their friends' story. Isn't it that the way? Secondly, what has been more impactful about the social media is that the wide base it is providing us. With wider base, we are getting wider level of morals and views. If you don't like something, you comment about it on post. If you like something, you reshare it. That has been how it is going for a long time now. Thirdly, if you think that someone is not agreeing with you, you present your point. This has given us a way to express our views about the change. Gone are the days when what the editors said in newspapers were the only thing we knew and the only thing we understood. Now, I would like to conclude my statement here by saying that our society is dynamic. We are changing. And if we want to keep up with this development, we have to take on with social media. This is the best thing about social media. that we as a society can go together. No one gets to lag behind, or no one needs to be stayed, and no one needs to be put behind. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. You still have 25 minutes to continue. Would you like to rest your case, or would you like to state something more? Okay.
I would like to rest my case.
Okay. Thank you so much. We've taken the points into consideration. Is there any other point of order or point of
No, we would like to continue with our speech. Yeah, I cannot hear you right. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Shankar, I'm sorry.
Firstly, you would like to disagree with the fact that...
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, is it fine if I switch off the video? Yeah, dude. Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Ah, shit. Fine. Okay, so can we start? Yeah. So firstly, we would like to disagree with the fact that we live in a world where we are shoulder length apart. No, we are 6 feet apart. Social distancing. Fuck. So yeah, we agree with the government about that social media has been bringing us together for a common goal from all parts of the earth. Yeah, by that we do mean ISIS. We refer to we do not agree to the referral of social media as this as by the government's cherry pink glasses, but rather we see it for the rapid information interchange platform, void of inhibitions, censored mostly by the community and strung together by a flow algorithm that gives you more of what you consume. Content is nothing but a characteristic determining parameter for this chaos. Social and political interests, friends and core ideals are all sold to the highest bidder. Oh, and also your shopping habits. If social media were a parent, it wouldn't be a tree-hugging fairy godmother, but rather a meth-addicted nanny shoving cake into your mouth repeatedly. We have divided this topic into 3 parts. That is it a valid instrument? Second, is this a herald or a facade? And is the change actually positive? Now let's look at if it is a valid instrument. So by that we mean, for every social change, there has to be a solid information base, and then this has to be furthered by a solid net.
Okay.
Work to distribute this information as the government India versus media. By that we'll see that we had the suffragette movement, we had the civil rights movement, we had the freedom movement, all of this without social media. And yes, I can also argue that Game of Thrones would have been a completely different series if there were network and if there were phones. And also what we see is that, no, I will not be taking a POI now. And yeah, so also what we're seeing right now is that there is an impermanence of movement. When Sushant Singh Rajput met his untimely end, what we saw was that there were a flurry of posts with hashtag with you, hashtag talk to me. But then rather after 3 days, it became another post in the pile of Cato and ice cream and hashtag summer life posts that we have all been dealing with. And now we look at the last and most important cog of this machine. That is the source credible? Politics and yes, old-timey newspapers have always had a chain of evidence where every information, every point of evidence was always corroborated by other sources and always fact-checked. This is not the truth that we have today. Now we are not having 2 different sides of a debate, but rather having a debate where the 2 sides have 2 alternate realities. And now let's look at the process of getting this information from the organization to the person. This can be done in 4 major ways. That is pages to people. This is already debunked by the Cambridge Analytica scandal of 2016 and also the Koch brothers meddling in every election ever. And now we look at this one, which is more personalized, and that is groups to people. Here I have a riddle for you. What is the common thread between the alternate Führer Deutschland party in Germany, the rise of fascism in Italy, and the remilitarization of Japan? All of this happened within groups, and all of this was also the recipe for World War II. That resharing post is not seeming really good right now. Now let's look at the influencer mentality. That is people, person to people. Here I would like to bring up the example of Alex Jones and Milo Yiannopoulos. Alex Jones has been Alex Jones has been made fun of by the entire media for suggesting that the government is injecting chemicals into water that is making the frogs gay. So there we have entirely negated the fact that this is a valid instrument. Now let's look at if it is a herald or a facade. For this, we would like to look at the permanence of the events, and also we'll further be talking about astroturfing and also how there has been a bot insurgence in information interchange. Now, is the change positive or not? Here we will further be discussing about 4chan, 8chan and its further implementations, and also the rise of neo-Nazism, fascism, neo-Nazism and other negative impacts in society due to the change due to the information change from classical journalists and to social media. And we'll also be further examining hashtag MeToo movements and also hashtag not all men, and how social media through its flow algorithm is destroying the centrist mentality and creating a world where there are two extremes to the spectrum and never a compromise. Yeah, I would like to rest my case.
Does the opposition team have any point? Oh, we had a point of information in the middle. Would you like to address
Yeah,
this?
I wanted the opposition party to go a little slow because it was quite tough to
Sorry,
follow with the
sorry to
speed.
interrupt you there. But unfortunately, we cannot exercise entertain a point of information after the speech has been completed. But yeah, maybe yes, speakers at least try to answer one point of information during your speech. That would be appreciated. But yeah, I'm sorry, in this case, you cannot raise your question.
No. Yeah, that's fine. Going ahead, does the opposition team have any point of order or a personal privilege which they like to state? Okay, no. Okay, thank you so much. We'll move ahead with the leader of the opposition party. Whenever you're ready, we can start the timer for the same. Oh, okay. Sorry, the member of the government. I'm really sorry about the same. Yeah, whenever you're ready, we can start the timer for the same.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, the time starts now. You can start.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of thinking of the facts about how social media is being disruptive or whatever to the society, it's important to think of the facts that we live in a very rapidly changing world, where we are in the century where things are happening very rapidly. We don't know what's going to happen next, where social media or internet is the only source of whatever we are doing in our lives or whatever we are happening, whatever, even the normal Zoom meeting that we are having right now is because of social media. So when it comes to the fact that how social media can make significant changes, about how the opposition party told, there were movements even before social media. But what about the movements which cannot happen live right now because of the pandemic which we are in? What about the thinking about the situations which are going to come further on? So I would like to bring fact about this, certain significant changes that social media has created over, in all the sectors, be it public, be it health, be it government, be it human activism, or any of that. Sorry, I could hear a bell.
Okay. I'm sorry, but you're breaking up a lot. So is it okay if you can turn off your video and continue? I think that'll be better.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it? I hope it's better now.
Yeah, it's much better. You can continue.
Yeah. So I would now like to talk about how social media is making an impact in the government sector of the, of the country and actually the whole world. So civil participation and engagement has been transformed with social media. Social media allows citizens to be the source of ideas, plans, and initiatives in an easier way than ever before. And that is said by the Alien Go of impassioned media. Now talking about how social media can respond to, better disasters, or how it can help us respond to disasters and many other activists alone like that. From Facebook Safety Check, which allows users in disaster zones to mark themselves as safe, to the rise of Crisis Mappers Network, we've seen so many examples of how social media and digital communications more broadly are helping respond to disasters. That set looks to continue. Heather Lezen of Qatar Computing Research Institute. Now talking about how social media is helping us to tackle some of the world's biggest challenges, that is human rights violations to climate change. The Arab Springs, which is one of the best known examples of how social media can change the world. I would like to bring it line for the web. But it's about more than just bringing together activists. It's also about holding together human rights violations.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah. Can you take a POI?
Yeah. Would like to take a POI?
Yeah.
Member of the government, would you like to entertain a POI from the leader of opposition?
Member of the government, are you there?
Yeah. I would like to know the point of information.
The timer back on. Rishabh, can I continue? Yeah, I can. Yeah, okay. So my POI to the government is that, yes, the Arab Springs was in 2003, but how will you address the 2019 crackdown in Kashmir of information by the government shutting down the entire internet? How is that relevant to the current scenario? Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to address the opposition party. So things do happen. Everything has to coexist. So when something like this happens, you cannot shut down, you cannot, derail the entire fact that social media is a herald or social media is absurd fact. That instead we have to have things that will change the society. So not talking about social media and how the social media information was being leaked and how the government shut down the entire internet. So when it comes, it's more about individualism and about how the certain group of people that have impacted the entire scenario of what's happened rather than just the social media. So social media cannot be blamed for something for something that has happened to a certain group of people. However, social media could be blamed if social media was the reason that everything had happened. But if somebody who's using social media has derailed to something like this, I think it's not applicable. Thank you.
Okay. Was that the answer to your question, or was that a continuation of your statement which you were trying to make?
No, that was the answer to the question.
Okay. Fine. We'll take that into consideration, Ayushi. You can please continue with your statement. You still have a minute and 10 seconds to continue.
Yeah, now I would like to bring about the fact how social media has the capacity to bring together disparate but like-minded people, is also helping together fight enormous challenges like climate change. How can social media help fight climate change? Social media has become an important tool for providing a space and means for the public to participate in influencing or disallowing governmental environmental decisions historically made by governments and corporations that affect us all. It has created a way for people to connect local government challenges and many such challenges. And the ability for organization to use the crowd highly connected through social media to support and spread environmental messages in a rapid dynamic format. Social media has propelled the rise of independent activists, for instance, during the Deepwater Horizon oil spills. Social media can also be used as a pressure to prompt and encourage support during specific campaigns. Hardware sensors and personal wearables have started enabling individuals to track information about themselves and their surroundings in real time. Similar to sensing hardware and app development, geolocalization and hashtag and social media platforms such as Instagram and Twitter have created a way for people to share stories about their local environment. In the conclusion, I would like to say social media and sensors that connect with online networks have the potential to change the way that the environmental sectors and all stakeholders involved, public, government, corporate, and health, and share information and make decisions for the betterment of the society.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. Do we have any points of order? Or do we have any points of personal privilege to ask? Okay. Thank you so much. With that, we'll move on to the member of the opposition party. And whenever you're ready.
Hello?
Ready? Yeah. Are you ready? Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but the internet connection is, 1 second, let me check.
Okay. I think it's my internet connection if it's low. Ashwin, can you
all hear me right now?
Yeah, it was perfectly fine without the internet connection as well.
Yeah, Yeah, but I saw internet connection weak. That's it.
Okay, that's fine. Are you ready? We can start with the same.
You'll tell me when the timer starts, right?
Yeah, anytime now. Whenever you start, I'll start.
Okay. So the government has put forward ideas on how the social media is changing the society. I'd like to ask the question, is it actually a change or just manipulating the data to give us an impression or an illusion of a change? This I want to talk about this with using the Murdoch and Fox rather than all the kingpins in the media world who are basically manipulating data and making new social changes, which are not social movements, which was gradually or naturally evolved, but which were synthesized by those people. And now I have or in other words, AstroTurf. What is AstroTurf?
Hello.
It's basically you're creating fake grass. Yes.
I would like to move the point of information to the member
Can I
of
take
the
it after
opposition
the
party.
Can I take it after the speech?
You can't ask for a point of information before the 1 minute
In the
mark.
first minute.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I'll go 1 minute.
that's not my time, right?
Yeah, that's not your time. Please.
Okay. Or in the worst case, astroturfing. What is astroturfing? You are basically printing the synthesis grassroots and making a synthesis grassroots change. And I like to explain this with the example of Plandemic, which was a Netflix documentary, which suggested that the mask, corona mask that we use is not good for health. And some people took it and put it in 4chan and 8chan and other materials. And this was in the numerous boards, auto boards, which were used in the social media platforms, use the information as a scientific base. And then we saw American president tweeting this, making it as a popular trend or as an information to the society, which is basically astroturfing in its glory. And by this, I want to focus on the point that social media is more vulnerable to manipulation. And it is basically a large-scale Chinese whisper when one person is suggesting something which can be moved to all the 4chan and 2chan, all those social media platforms, and then pick them from there using illogical scientific facts and put down to the major popular media, and thereby creating an illusion of a social change. The second point I have to mention is based on Jaron Lehner's article about how social media can be is acting as a negative influence on our society, and it is basically like a supply and demand. When we are provided with a lot of supply, a lot of ideas, basically what we are doing is we are just giving the choices of yes or no. We are either agreeing or disagreeing. Before social media, we had the facts and we made conclusions based on the facts. But now it is happening. We are present with opinions of a lot of people, and then we are going to the both extremes. Either we agree with their ideology or we disagree with it. And we are losing our ability to differentiate facts from opinion, thereby losing our free will in another way. And the other one is social media heralding change in society. The social media heralding change, I want to talk about how journalism is still being done by professionals, professional media, and the print media. I want to point out the Harvey Weinstein case, which was actually pointed out by New York Times and empowered women all over the world to come out. Yes, we can say that social media made it viral, but is it true? Social media made it viral, and what happened? There was a hashtag not all men also, which also got enough traction and was used in Harvey Weinstein's court appeal. And the last point I have to focus on is the violent effects of social media influence in the society by pointing out the Rohingya case and the religious intolerance that is caused by social media. Though in Myanmar, Facebook is used interchangeably for the word internet. So, and as a result of hate speeches and religious intolerances that was portrayed through the FB, 10,000 Rohingya Muslims were slaughtered in Myanmar, and it is only contributed to the social internet information people gather through social media, which is FP for Myanmar. And to talk about Quanon and religious intolerance and other influence of it, there was a shooting in New Zealand, and the person actually shooted the whole thing and put it in Facebook.
Yeah.
And this is all like an example of social media is not creating a chance. That's why I want to conclude my work.
Okay. Thank you so much. With this, we conclude the first round and we move on to rebuttal. Before that,
is there any time gap between rebuttal and my speech?
No, there's no time gap for now. Just we've taken all the points into consideration as of now. Is there any point of order or point of personal privilege which the opponent team would like to state? No, for the previous speech. Okay, thank you so much. Moving on, we'll move on to the rebuttal. Now, just to give you a purview of rebuttal, it's 3 minutes each. Okay, and we'll be starting off with the leader of the opposition party and then closing up with the prime minister. Okay, one main thing you can.
I can't hear.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Is it better
Yes,
now?
yes, yes.
The first thing is that there's no point of information in a rebuttal round. There's only point of order and point of personal privilege that you can put across in place, and that too after the round is over. Okay, after the speech is done. And one other thing is you guys cannot bring up new facts in rounds of rebuttal. You have to remain in the purview of the statements that you made in the first 4 rounds. Okay, all clear? Okay, with that we'll start across with the ready.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I start?
Yeah.
Okay. So the rebuttal leader.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
We can't
I'll
hear
be
you.
speaking.
We can't hear you, Rishabh.
We can't hear you.
Is it audible now? Is it much better now?
Yeah, it is better now.
Okay. The leader of the opposition party.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leader of the opposition party. You can start now. No issues. Okay.
Good leader. Yeah, now I'm unmuted. Fine. Okay. So the topic brought upon by the government were very simple. There were people were connected. If there were when there were horses, if there were phones, people could understand things faster. Social media has flaws, but it is good. It has made the world a smaller place. This is completely outside the purview of what the topic was. That is it heralding actual social change? Being able to get 1-day delivery on your horsegram is not something that is to be writing back home about. Oh wait, WhatsApping back home about. Right. We have focused on the fact that yes, the world is smaller, but how? Yeah, your world is smaller because you have completely disregarded the 80 lakh people in Kashmir, 1.3 billion people in China, and 300 million people in Myanmar who are under oppressive regimes or are facing the consequences of having internet rule their lives. Right. We have already given you the example of WeChat in China, and now we'd also like to talk about how we presented the fact about astroturfing, where the government completely negated our talk, completely disregarded our point and said that yes, we can always say our flaws with whatever their points are by replaying it back to them. Yes, this is how toxic online culture starts. This is how cyberbullying starts. Again, this was pointed out in our speech and was completely disregarded by the government. So essentially, that part is over, and now we'll just like to summarize our topics, which are social media. Firstly, we have looked at it at 3 parts. That is it a valid instrument? We have completely said that the origin of the information is false. The passing on of the information has also been tampered with, and now we have also looked at heralding or facade. And in there, we noticed that astroturfing is a very prevalent problem, and also how people's data was being pawned off by companies like Facebook and Cambridge Analytica for the profit of others. And we have also looked at if there is a permanence of change, because that is supposed to be the great change that is being brought upon by social media. How if the civil rights movement gave voting rights to everyone, but for one election, that would not be a permanent motion, but I think that would be a viral hit on TikTok for like 2 days. So yeah, so we have essentially negated each and every point of the topic. We have negated each and every point, although there were only little to none of the government, and we have essentially established that it is not a valid instrument. Is it a tool in the war chest? Yes. But is it? But we have looked at it objectively and subjectively and concluded that it is favoring not the right forces that we want shaping our society, but rather the neo-Nazis and the most radical of our minds that are using this for the worst of the world. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Would the opponent team, the opposition party, have any points of order or points of personal privilege that they would like to claim now? Okay, we'll take that as no. Moving on, we'll move on to the Prime Minister to close the statement regarding the same, and we're ready to start whenever you're ready. Okay.
Yeah, I'm ready. Can I bring the statements that the opposition said in rebuttal as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
So first off, I would like to talk how the opposition mentioned about Sushant Singh Rajput's case. He said that how the case has been up for some days and then it was forgotten. I guess that was the terms that not the particular terms, but that was how they wanted to state it. But I don't think that is particularly what has happened. Secondly, I would also like to bring the I would also like to bring the attention to how the opposition stated about the Me Too movement and not all men, because as much as there are people out there claiming that Me Too movement has been an bad influence of social media, I don't think that is what we were talking about. Just as the opposition said, this was not about how the social media is heralding the changes, right? So that is my second point. And third point I would like to hear to bring into consideration is that about how opposition stated about taking in consideration the views of many, that some people would agree, some people would disagree on social media, and how this is going to affect decision making. I mean, this is a democracy. That is how things happen here. You have to take into consideration. That is how social media is helping us here. As I stated earlier, a lot of more views would be taken into consideration. People's morals would be checked. So here I would like to say that this is social media's plus point, if you may, about giving us the power to enhance our views. And the third thing that I would like to talk about is how the opposition stated in its rebuttal about the WeChat incident of China. I mean, that WeChat incident, if I'm not wrong, are you talking about the one of that Uyghur Muslims, or is it different one? Because if we are talking about the Uyghur Muslims, I would say the WeChat movement is what brought the attention of the world leaders of different international organizations to the topic.
Sorry.
Speakers, please do not engage in a one-to-one discussion.
Sorry, my mic was unmuted. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please continue. I'm really sorry. Yeah.
So as we were talking about the WeChat discussion, so it was what WeChat brought us in. WeChat brought the light on the topic of the Uyghur Muslims. So how can we say that it is not social media that is bringing changes? Thank you. I would like to end my rebuttal here.
Okay. Thank you so much. We've taken the points. With that, does the opposition team have any points that they would like to mention in terms of order and personal privilege? Oh, okay. With that, I'll take that as a no, and we come to the end of the topic, end of the debate. Thank you so much. We had a great time with you. The debate went really well. Thank you so much for taking part in the same. And regarding your results, you'll get to know if you got into the group of 16 on Monday evening. Apart from that, Ashwin, your comments, what do you think about the debate?
So thank you guys. So I'll be a bit honest with you. I don't want to like sugarcoat your feedback. First, at times I felt like, okay, it was difficult to follow the stands of some speakers. It's because of patchy internet connection. Cannot blame you for that. It is a limitation which is beyond our scope to mitigate. But yeah, stylistically, I felt the proposition team, especially the Prime Minister, in the speech was very anecdotal rather than creating a narrative around facts or research, which is what is expected. Anecdotal in the sense that it felt like a lot was speaking more from personal experience rather than research. Also, in a lot of instances, the PM maintained a very casual tone of speech, which could have been avoided. The proposition team failed to define what exactly they mean by social media, as it can be interpreted in more than one way. And also the speech, as stated earlier, was very anecdotal in nature, and that affected the team's case because that didn't allow for a good transition to happen between the two speakers of the same team in terms of one argument leading into another. And the opposition team also did not take note of this, and because of the lack of clarity or definition, there were some irrelevant points or questions which were made or raised. To state a few examples where this happened, there was a POI which referred to the shutting down of internet in Kashmir, which wasn't relevant in this case. In another instance, the member of government stated that Zoom was an example of social media utility, but voice over internet protocol services like Zoom or Skype are social networks and not social media, and the distinction is very important. The opposition team could have raised this as a point of order. A clear definition could have helped in avoiding these confusions. But yeah, now coming to the opposition team, I think they had some good arguments in their speech, but again, the case lacked a flow. To begin with, the leader of opposition, you were very fast in your speech, and it felt like it came from a place of agitation. There were some good arguments, but the pace of the argument made it very difficult to follow, undermining what could have otherwise been a good case for the opposition team. Perhaps it was an attempt to fill in a lot of information within the constraints of the time limit. I don't know, but if your team does make it to the next round, I want you to be conscious of this. Also, both the speakers of the opposition team, your argument was narrowed down largely to the political sphere, whereas the motion has a much wider scope. And even in the rebuttals, there were references to Kashmir, abuse in China, Sushant Singh Rajput's murder, which wasn't really relevant to the context of discussion. And I felt like both the rebuttal speakers drifted from the topic at hand. And that largely, I felt like, could be attributed to not having a clear definition of what is being discussed. So if either of the teams do make it to the next round, I want you to like pay more attention to this and try to understand what is being discussed and not drift from what is being spoken about. But otherwise, good job and all the best for the future rounds.
Okay. Thank you so much, guys. With that, we come to the end of this debate. Hope you guys have a great time, and we'll keep you updated regarding the results as well. Hope this was a great learning experience. We hope to see you again in the workshop soon. And yeah, with that, we end this session. You guys can leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.